Thanks, guys. Super good to see you all today, and thank you for joining us today on developing our spiritual immunity. I just want to welcome everybody. I'm so glad that you're here, and we really need each other right now. And we so strange out there, and we need a whole new set of tools to help us understand what's going on and how to function during this time. So I just want to thank you again for being here. Just banding together and helping each other understand this. So for those of you who don't know me, I want to introduce myself. My name is Lisa Campion, and I train sorry, I'm just going to mute somebody there. I train sensitives, healers, and empaths and psychics to really fully step into their gifts, because I think that the world needs all the healers it can get now more than ever. And that's really what I've been doing my whole life. I'm the author of a book called The Art of Psychic Reiki. I have a private practice here in Hopkinton, Massachusetts, and which is happening online right now, virtually. And for the past 20 years, I've been teaching Reiki. So I've been teaching energy medicine for quite a while. I also teach in an energy medicine school called the Reese Thomas Institute. And Reese and I have been teaching together for the past 15 years. So this is sort of my full-time gig. I started working as a psychic when I was 19 years old, and I've really spent my whole life working with you all, with you kind of people, with this kind of people, and I love the work that I do. My second book is with a publisher now. It's called Energy Healing for Empaths, and it's a lot of what we're going to be talking about is kind of stuff that I wrote in my book, and now I'm having to deal with it, and we're all having to deal with that sort of times 10. So whatever empath troubles we had as sensitives in the world is just dialed up to like this 10x thing that we're having to deal with. And I just, when I grew up as a psychic, like a psychic child, I grew up in Newton, Massachusetts in the 60s and 70s, and there were really no psychics on TV. There was no New Age bookstores. There was no classes like this. There was nothing like this. So I had to really figure it out myself the hard way. And yet, it's so interesting. I was just remembering this as this whole pandemic thing kind of started brewing, because I remember very distinctly being like, I don't know, a young teen, like 13 or 14 years old, when my guides told me, I'd already had a very strong connection with my guides at that point. And they told me that something big would be happening in the world when I was a grown-up, that I would be at the peak of my spiritual power, my psychic power, that I would be called on to help other people like myself. And I knew that I came here for this purpose. They told me very distinctly that I had volunteered as a soul to be alive during this time, right? Like what's going on right now, that I volunteered to be here, like sort of like I came here like people join the Peace Corps, and I never knew really what that meant. Like I thought, like, was it I'm just going to help during the time of the shift, during the time of the ascension, and yet in some weird way, I always had this fear or this knowing about pandemics, and kind of a weird paranoia about pandemics. So when this all came together, I was like, all right, this is what I'm here for. And I wonder if you guys feel the same way, that you may really have felt called to your healership in the past few years, that as we've entered into this period of time, which people call the shift or people call the ascension, there's this huge shift in human consciousness that's been going on for a couple of years now, and that many of us psychics, healers, sensitives, empaths have been becoming more. So even before this happened, I wonder if your gifts have been awakening, if your sensitivity is getting more sensitive, if your psychic powers are awakening, if your intuition is bubbling, if you felt the call to study Reiki or to study energy medicine or whatever it is that your gifts as a healer and a psychic are blossoming and blooming. I really think that's what's been going on. And if that's you, I just want to say congratulations. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a healer. Thank you for listening, answering the call. And it's so difficult during this time, this unprecedented time that we live in right now, to try and manage these sensitivities while they're opening. So I think they would be hard before pandemic time, and now during pandemic time, it's like, wow, how do we even process this? How do we even manage this as sensitives? And that's really why I wanted to do this class. And I feel like there's a catch-22 here for our sensitive selves. So on one hand, we're super called to service. We're called to help people. We're called to be in the world. And yet, how do we manage this crazy energy? If we are going to do what we came here to do, we totally need to tool up. We need to get a new, stronger set of tools so we can serve humanity in whatever way that we choose to do that. Okay, so, you know, like I said, we were already in this shift. The shift was already happening before this was going on. And the time of this quickening or the shift in human consciousness, and many of us were already in this drink from the fire hose experience of the gifts wakening up. So my goal is to help you guys really get tooled up so we can get in the game as quick as we can. It's now. There's no, here we are. It's now. And just to tell you about the class, this is a quick 5-day class, 5 days in a row. It's at 5 p.m. Eastern time, and there's going to be a Q&A. So I'm going to talk for maybe 45 minutes, and then I'm going to do a guided meditation, 10 or 15-minute guided meditation at the end. And when that's over, I'm going to open the call for you guys to have your questions. The class will be recorded, so if you miss one, you're going to still get the whole thing, and you have a lifetime access to it. If you know anyone else who might benefit, tell them about it so we can kind of spread the word. And, you know, I know times are difficult for people, so I am offering a scholarship for people that are in financial difficulties, for people that have lost their job. And a lot of people, like I've talked to a lot of people who work in the mental health field right now, who work in the medical, are on the front lines of this virus. So this partly is for them, for you guys, you know. So it's just, I just feel really honored to be here with you tonight and to be able to help you, if, you know, as I'm figuring it out myself, which by the way, I'm totally doing that. So in this particular class, we're going to deal with trying to understand the spiritual nature of what's happening right now. We're also going to, because I'm going to give you some spiritual frameworks to help that have been useful for me to kind of get my head around what we're dealing with. And we're going to talk about how to level up our basic energy management stuff, because the old stuff we used to be doing, we need it like times 10 right now. And then we're going to cover some like, we're going to do like a heart activating grounding meditation. I've never taught this one before. It's brand new, hot off the press. I've never done it anywhere, and I'm so excited to bring it right now. I've been doing it every day, and it's been really helping me a lot. In class 2, we're going to really go through dealing with our emotional states. How do we process our emotions, especially anxiety and fear and sadness, because I think that's what's coming up right now. And then we're also going to cover how do we help other people handle how can we show up and hold space for other people's emotions too. In class 3, we're going to work with our spiritual immune system, and that's also so we're going to understand our physical immune system and some things we have to do there, but also our spiritual immune system, which really corresponds to the outside edge of our energy field. So in that class, we're going to learn some energy anatomy and the connection between the outer edge of our energy field, and our immune system, and like what's going on with that and how we can fully support it energetically, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. In class 4, we're going to talk about some deeper stuff and do some shadow work, which is kind of diving into the deep end of the pool to help sort of clear out some of the darker emotions that may be coming up for us, so we can be really authentic with what's happening and not do a spiritual bypass on this. I think that will also free us up to enjoy the light aspect of this, because there is one, and there's sort of a light and a dark aspect of what's going on, and we really need to fully own and occupy both, and that's what that class will be about. And in class 5, we're going to talk more about the light aspect of this, what's possible, what opportunities, what new world are we emerging into, and then and also we're going to work in that class, how do we keep our energy tanks full so that we can sort of get through this time. I think we're kind of in a marathon. It's not a sprint, and there's new. It's all new as it's unfolding. How do we maintain our own energy in this, considering the parameters that we have to work with? So that's what we're going to be doing. And I wanted to jump in right away and kind of share with you my spiritual perspective on this. And please, whenever I do that, I really want you to take it with a grain of salt. In fact, anything that I'm doing in this class, take the parts that work for you. And if it doesn't work or resonate for you, that's fine, you know. So I'm going to give you this framework. If it's useful or helpful for you, that's fantastic. So here's what's been on my mind about this. Viruses are part of our evolutionary process. And scientists say that 80% of how we evolve happens through natural selection. That's sort of a, survival of the fittest, and the way that Darwin taught us to be looking at evolution. And that the other 20% of evolution happens through viral mutations, like extreme mutations of our DNA that happen through viruses. And that the normal process of evolution, which is the slow process of natural selection, it's slow. Things change over millennium, over hundreds of years or thousands of years, as our genetic structure changes to adapt to our changing environment. But viral mutations are quantum leaps. And that so I think that's so interesting. Here we are in a virus that's changing our DNA and is giving us the possibility for a quantum leap. And it's interesting to me that we are in this ascension time. So what I mean by ascension, if you've never heard that term, I assume that you have, but if you haven't, there's a theory or experience that many people have right now, that we're in this shifting of human consciousness, that this waking up experience that many people are having, waking up to a state of consciousness. So it's an evolution of human consciousness. And we have that combined with a virus to give us an incredibly powerful quantum leap. And I don't know, I just think that's interesting. So the other framework that I think that I've been using that's really helpful is to look at the two sides of ourselves in a way. We have two selves. Well, we have many, but the two that I'm going to talk about right now is that are really in operation for a lot of people is, on one hand, we have the soul aspect of it. So you can call this your higher self, or I think of it as the soul self. So that's what I'm going to call it in this class. And the soul self can see the bright side of this, can, like I do, maybe understands that you volunteered for it, that it's sort of ready to roll up your sleeves and go to work. And I have moments where I'm really in that side of myself. And then there's the personal self. The personal self, we think about the egoic self, the small self. It has all these different words. Sometimes I think of it as the inner child too. And we all have both of these sides of this, of us. And so our personal self is really having a difficult time, because our personal self has fear of change, wants a nice cushy life, loves routine and what we already know. It's sort of very comfortable with that, wants to have like a pleasurable life, wants to enjoy and have fun. And that part of ourself is really challenged in this time, because we're in free fall here. We're in the unknown territory. We don't know what's going to happen next. We're cut off out of our routine in really lots of major ways. So the small self, the personal self, is really struggling, really suffering, really having a lot of emotions. And this is what we're going to look at in class 2. Like, how do we manage the freak out of the personal self? Because I don't think we can ignore that. I certainly haven't been able to, and I don't want you to either. So I want you to learn how to feel love and compassion and understanding for your personal self, and to also have moments or times when you see this experience or experience this experience from your soul self. And I've been popping back and forth between these two parts of myself, which is making me feel a little crazy, a little schizophrenic, a little split. I'm having this incredibly split experience here. And when I'm in my personal self, I'm kind of a mess. Like I feel really sad. I feel anxious, overwhelmed. I'm like worried about my kids, my parents. I'm worried about my job. I'm worried about the economy. I'm worried about all the people dying and feeling the burden of the suffering and pain that's floating around in the world right now. And just my personal self feels completely actually lost at the scope of this whole experience. Like I can't even really get my head around what is going on and how big it is. And when I'm in my soul self, I can see the big pattern. I can welcome the change. I can feel hopeful and optimistic. I know that in the grand scheme of things, we're going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. And maybe what's changing is for our greater good in the long run. What I'm experiencing, especially in this past week, is those two things, those two streams of energy mixed together, sort of braided together. And when the personal self is really going on, and I don't know if you guys are feeling this, but I feel it, a real shift in the afternoon, like right around 3 or 4 o'clock. I sort of wake up in the morning and I'm feeling more in my soul self. I'm feeling like just, excited about my work and like what's happening and the connections I'm making with people. And I'm in that more soul side of things. And right around like 3 or 4 o'clock, I hit this wall. And the super heavy, dark energy sort of overtakes me. And that energy feels like very dark, dense, and fearful. I'll often feel like somebody turned up the gravity and like I can't really move. Like really intense fatigue and exhaustion. Sometimes I just have to like lie down and take a nap. And then that deep fear, the fear of death, the fear of disease, the fear of financial worry, and sort of moral exhaustion, like the exhaustion we feel like where every decision we make could be life or death. Like, should I wash my groceries? Should I disinfect my box that came in Amazon? And if I don't, am I going to die? Like, that sort of takes a toll on us energetically. And it's really, really, really different from the soul energy that I'm feeling, or this optimistic, where things are so much lighter. So the world is filled with like lightness and hope and love. And there's like, people singing to each other on the balconies of Italy, and neighbors helping neighbors, and people out walking, and, sort of relief at being off the hamster wheel. And as an empath, there's sort of a secret happiness that the world is kind of slowed down to the pace that empaths actually really, really like. And I'm just flipping back and forth between these two. And when we get to the Q&A part, I'm so curious to see if you guys are experiencing the same thing. I just would really like to know. But what my goal for you in this class, and has been for myself, is to help you learn how to comfort and caretake the personal self, the inner child self, and to really, really process my feelings and help you learn how to process your feelings, because we're going to feel stuff, right? And then to do what I can to stay in the soul part of me, which is so much better equipped to deal with this, and to maybe bring some practices into my life which load the balance more to that side, because it feels so much better over there. All right. So here's another framework for you. I really believe this, and like I said, take it with a grain of salt. You don't have to, but consider it and see if it rings true for you. And that is that there's a universal law in operation here. And that is that the universal law that we're kind of under right now is the way we work, the universe works, and planet Earth works, is that we go through there's a time of growth. Then we have a time when we sustain the growth that we've been in, and then we go through a deconstruction cycle. Maybe we're born, we live a long life, we die. We inhale, we hold, we pause our breath, we exhale. And this wheel, the cycle of life and sustaining of life and death and deconstruction, as certainly what's one of the major universal laws that's operating on planet Earth. So lots of metaphysics will tell you that, lots of old mystery school stuff, the Hermetic principles will tell you that. It's sort of it's part of Hinduism. It's very embedded in a lot of the mystery schools and the esoteric knowledge that we have this cycle. And so what's going on here now is that we're in this deconstruction cycle. And we have been for the past few years, maybe the past 4 or 5 years. We've been in a very heavy deconstruction cycle. And as hard and difficult as it is, it's also very natural. So empires rise and fall, and this is the fall. The problem is that as human beings, we hate our small self, our personal self, hates the deconstruction phase of things. And there's no denying it. We're in such a powerful deconstruction phase that we can only just surrender to it. We're really in the midst of it. Now, astrologers have been seeing this coming for a long time. Psychics have felt it coming. Anybody who can observe or read the news, maybe, can feel that we're in this heavy deconstruction cycle. And a lot of us grown-ups, if you're my age-ish, we've grown up in a part of the world where we were in that sustaining part, where things feel safe, things are secure, things are abundant. And so it's really a shock to come out of that into such an incredibly powerful deconstruction cycle. And yet forest fires come and burn the forest down so the forest can be reburned. And what's happening in this deconstruction is that the systems that no longer work and the functions and things that we do that no longer work and serve us need to go. And it's kind of hard because it's not without pain and fear and all the other things that we're facing right now. But part of what's comforting for me about this model is that this is again part of the cycle of evolution. So much like the virus is part of our evolutionary process, this deconstructs birth and life and death cycle is part of our evolutionary process, because when we have a deconstruction cycle, things let go and always are reborn at a higher level. So whatever's coming after this is going to have to be at a higher level than it was before. This is part of the natural order. It's part of the natural laws of things. It's part of the natural evolutionary process. So whatever's coming in will be of higher order, with higher beauty, higher harmony, and higher order than we had before. And I find that so comforting. Even my soul self totally gets that and finds great comfort in that, even while my personal self is like, right? And in order to get through this, we are being invited to rise up into our soul selves and then work with our personal selves a lot. The other thing that I hope that makes sense to you, and I hope that my wish for you is that it brings you the same comfort that it brings me. I throw it out there just in case it does, okay? The other thing that I know about being, so I started researching a little bit, how do we handle a cycle of deconstruction from a psychological perspective, from a sociological perspective? This isn't the first time this has happened on our planet. So how have people gotten through it in the past? And the answer is, has a lot to do with how adaptable you are, and what is your ability to adapt to change? That's how we're going to get through this. And there are always opportunities in a deconstruction cycle. So some businesses are closing and dying, some structures are falling apart, and others will spring up in its place to serve new needs. And I want you to just pause for a moment right now and ask yourself, like a little internal quiz. On a scale of 1 to 10, how adaptable to change do you think you are? How well do you handle chaos? Because that's what we've got. Do you like change or fear it? So just think about that for a minute, because there are certainly some people who have a much higher chaos tolerance that like change and that are highly adaptable, who are going to suffer less during this time than people who can't adapt to things very easily, fear and hate change, and have no chaos tolerance. So just think about that for a minute and reflect on that for a minute on what that's like for yourself. And as part of that question, one of the things you can do is ask yourself, how you can adapt and change to what's going on around you. And one of the ways that we can do that is to look for the opportunities. So maybe there are some opportunities in your relationship. If you're co-quarantined with somebody, do you have a chance to reconnect with your partner in maybe a different way? And if you're quarantined with family, do you have, what is the opportunity there for you? If you're alone, like I am, so I'm quarantining solo, how can you reconnect to yourself? What projects are you able to do now? And what inside of you is in your life that you're being required to let go of really might need to go. So anyway, think about that. Might be good to journal about it or contemplate it, meditate on it, and see there's some gold in there if you dig through it. So the next thing that I really want to talk about is one of the biggest issues we have as empaths right now is how connected we are to the group mind. So humanity has a group consciousness. I tend to call it the hive mind, but we can call it the morphic field. We can call it the collective consciousness. That's what Jung called it. It has a lot of different names. And if you're sensitive, you're going to be tapped into that hive mind pretty heavily. We all are, and we always have been. And up until now, it really hasn't been much of a problem. But it's a big issue right now. So the hive mind, or the collective consciousness of humanity, the morphic field, is pretty much freaking out right now. So there's a lot of this heavy energy, this dense energy is, really, really strong, stronger than it's ever been probably in our lifetime. And some of that dark wave of energy that I know overtakes me in the afternoon is part of the collective consciousness that I'm tapping into. And I've had to learn how to unplug from it. I'm going to teach you how to do that in just a minute. And the more empathic and sensitive you are, the more likely it is you're going to feel the weight of this collective consciousness. And here, I give the movie theater as an analogy. So I know you've all been to the movies, and what can happen in movies are wonderful, but also sometimes challenging for an empath and a sensitive, because in a movie theater, everyone is feeling the same thing at the same time, and especially a crowded movie theater. So if you're really packed and tight and the movie theater's packed, have you ever noticed that, that you get this bigger emotional charge off everything because you're feeling your own emotions, but you're also feeling the emotions of everyone packed into that movie theater who's feeling the same thing at the same time. And movies are designed to evoke an emotional response in us. That's a good movie will make you cry, make you laugh, whatever, everything in between. And that we like that as humans, right? And it can be a little bit of a rocky road for an empath who's in the movie theater feeling their own feelings and also absorbing the energetic goo, the energetic emotional stuff from everyone around them, okay? So that's what's happening right now, but times up 8 billion people on the planet, because this is like we're in a crowded movie theater with 8 billion people in it, all feeling the same thing at the same time. So I think if we're going to be okay, we have to have time when we unplug from the hive mind. And here's a couple of ways to do it. Limit your exposure to the news, really, truly. Don't have CNN on the background all the time. Maybe tune in once or twice a day just to see what you need to know. And make sure that you're taking plenty of breaks from social media too, like really, really limit those things. And I think it's also important to be very mindful about what kind of information we're taking in terms of movies, TV shows. Maybe this is a good time to stay away from violence and fear-producing ones, especially if you're already anxious. And I want to do like a little cord cutting meditation from the hive mind. This is what I've been doing, and I find it really works. So we're going to do a longer meditation at the end of this. But from right now, here's how to unplug from the hive mind if you've never done that before, okay? So if you're sitting down, I want you to close your eyes and just take a moment to like feel your body. Push your feet into the ground, or if you're sitting cross-legged, Really feel your legs supporting you on the floor. And just breathe into your body, like really feel your body now, like hello body. Take a breath into your heart and your belly. And just breathe down your legs, really feel your feet. And I want you to now imagine, pretend, or visualize the group mind, the group consciousness, and see what it feels like to you. Maybe it feels like static running through the airwaves. Maybe it feels like a big cloud of energy. That's kind of what it looks like to me. Maybe it looks like a big radio tower that's broadcasting a specific channel. Maybe it looks like a radar dish on the top of your head, but tuned to static. Maybe you feel it in your energy field as static. It's pretty staticky. So what I want you to do now is breathe light in the top of your head and breathe it right to your heart. Breathe it into your belly, breathe it down your legs. And just imagine that you're going to pull the cords. You can cut the cords if you like. You can ask Archangel Michael to help you do this. I see the cords as like cords that you like plug into an electrical socket, and I don't like cutting them. I sort of pull them. I pull them out of the socket and I re-plug them back into myself. So pull the cords out and re-plug them back into your own heart. And what you're going to do is now breathe in light. Again, breathe light to your heart. So you're filling your heart up with light. And let the cord or the plug get a lot. Let the light of your heart feed that plug instead of the fear of the hive mind. Just see how that feels for you. Now you can ask your angels or your guides to help you. You can ask Archangel Michael to help you. But mostly we can do this by setting our intention and our awareness on doing it. And notice if you feel a little calmer, a little more peaceful, a little more centered, a little more in your own heart and your own belly. And then take a deep breath again. Push any extra energy you have out the bottoms of your feet. And just begin, you can bring yourself back into the room now. We're going to share about that at the end of the call. I want to hear how that went for you. I feel tons better. So I've been having to do this once or twice a day. I have to do it sort of in the late afternoon and again before I go to bed so I can sleep. So try that. If you feel really anxious, make sure you're unplugged from the group mind. Okay, so let's talk about energy management. This is one of my favorite things to teach. It's one of the things that I teach the most when I'm training empaths, healers, and psychics. It's so fundamental. It's so important. And it's even more important now. So this is grounding, clearing, and protecting times 10, okay? And there are really 4 parts to energy management. We're going to cover 3 of them today. The other one we're covering is getting its own class at the end of the group. So what we have to do in order to manage our energy, and every empath, every sensitive really needs to learn this. This is such fundamental stuff, so I call it energy management fundamentals. And we need it even when the world is great. We still need this stuff. And now that the world is sort of, kiltering out of control, we need it even more. So there's 2 really basic ways that we do grounding, clearing, and protecting. And one of the ways is that we work on our energy field. We have to learn how to manage our energy field, actually our energy. And because I'm an energy medicine practitioner and a Reiki person, I've always been able to see people's energy field and experience that. And what I learned was that when I teach people how to manage these basics of managing your energy field, which aren't difficult, it it creates a different experience for them in the world as sensitives. And so working with that directly is super empowering and really easy, and we're going to do some of that today. And the other way that we do that is through activities. So one of them is through managing the energy through guided meditation and breathing, and the other is through activities and actual stuff and things you can actually do in the world. And I like to teach both because we need a full toolkit. There are going to be times when you need to do the grounding and breathing and energy management and like managing your energy field stuff because you're in a situation where you can't whip out your sage or your crystals. And other times we need those other things because we just do. All right, so we're going to talk about both of them. Let's start with grounding. All right, so grounding is more important than ever. And what I'm finding is for myself and the people that I'm working with is that this whole experience has ungrounded us in a really profound way. So what does even grounding mean? Let's talk about that. It's the way that I define it. It has 3 parts to it. The first part is being in your body, actually having your consciousness in your body so that you're not dissociated. Dissociation is the opposite of that. So we're dissociated and out of our body, and our consciousness is like left the building and is floating around out here somewhere. So we need to bring that back in where our full consciousness is in our body completely. That's the first part, and often the most difficult, by the way. The next part of being grounded means being in this moment, in the here and now. X marks the spot, like you're in this moment, in this place and time right now. That means you're not thinking about the past and you're not thinking about the future. Your thoughts are in the present moment. That's really a mindfulness. So mindfulness is a very important part of being grounded. And the last part of being grounded is about being actually connected to the earth. Our energy fields and our bodies are meant to be resonating and connecting with the earth. And we're going to talk about how to do that too, because it's harder now than ever, okay? And my feeling is at this point in time, we need to do serious grounding at least 3 times a day. And as soon as you don't feel good or you go into a state of panic or anxiety or fear or sadness, I want you to immediately figure out ways to ground. So let's talk about how to do it. We're going to do the meditation at the end of class. So we're going to talk about the other ones, or the other ways to do it right now. One of the best ways you can do it is to put your bare feet on the ground if you can get it. Take your shoes off, let's go outside and walk around. I know I live in New England. It's really cold and rainy today. So we can't always do that. But it's the best way to do it. And what happens is that we have started wearing shoes. We wear shoes all the time now. And the shoes we have rubber on the bottoms of the shoes, which creates an insulation between our foot and our energy field and the actual vibration and resonance of the planet. And that ungrounds us right off the bat. So the simplest, easiest way is barefoot on the ground. Now, I have a big river rock under my desk that I put my feet on when I'm doing things like this because I can't be outside, but I have this big rock. It's about that big. It's just a plain old rock. It's not a crystal. I got it, I think, at the beach. And I put my feet on it when I'm working. And it really, really works for me. So that can be something that you can do. There's also grounding mats you can get, earthing mats, and they usually plug into a grounded outlet, and they literally will connect you to the grounding circuits of your house, like the electrical circuits of your house. There's also special shoes you can have, grounding, earthing shoes, or some people that I know who really are into this wear shoes that only have leather on the bottom and don't have any rubber in them. That's kind of hardcore, but it is something you can try. So reconnecting to the earth, super important. It's such a good time to go for a walk in nature. It's like one of the things we can do now. And we see so many people out there doing it because it's a really incredibly good way to ground. And also anything that you can do to take care of your body when you do it in a mindful way is very grounding. So to do it with a lot of consciousness, to do it with a lot of love and intention to be grounding. Things like eating, exercising, and sleeping are grounding. And I know that we tend to fall off our self-care routines when we go into a time of crisis and we kind of throw everything to the wind. Oftentimes when we panic like this, we will try to ground by eating very heavy and dense foods, which are grounding in some ways, but they also take a bite out of you. So things like alcohol, sugar, caffeine, heavy meat. Before I learned how to really ground myself intentionally, I used to do it by eating a hamburger, French fries, and a milkshake when I was a teenager. And I would eat that. And then I would feel myself flunk into my body like clunk, and I would be like, I would feel terrible, but I would be like, well, my poor stomach hurts, but at least I got back in my body, So I know it's so difficult right now. And if you're like me, you just want to sit around and eat brownies and have a glass of wine. I get it. I'm right there with you. And everything's fine in moderation. I mean, they're talking about the quarantine 15 pounds we're all going to gain here in quarantine, which is probably true. But yes, let's do mindful eating, and it can be more grounding if you really stick to what nurtures our body in a very mindful way. Okay. And the problem with those heavy foods is they just take a toll on your adrenal glands and your general health. So they have like a short-term grounding impact, but a long-term not so good. So double down on your self-care, people. Really don't abandon it. As easy as it is to feel like the world is ending and I'm going off my diet. I'm going to eat the whole entire box of brownies and drink the whole bottle of wine. I get that, but spend a day or two doing that and then see if you can get back into your self-care routine. Double down on it. Really don't give it up. Of course, many people use exercise to ground, and it's really hard when we can't get to the gym or the yoga studio, but we can walk, we can do online exercise, we can go out in nature. The other things that are super good for grounding are really like ordinary daily activities, again, when they're done with a kind of mindfulness towards it. So gardening, being in nature, doing housework, cleaning, cooking, raking, doing laundry, raking the backyard can be very grounding if you do it mindfully. If you have a quarantine buddy, massage, sex, cuddling, other healthy physical contact with another person is also very grounding and good. And if you're alone, that can be, difficult because a lot of people are quarantining alone and have no physical contact. Hopefully, at least you have a pet, because playing with our pets, snuggling our pets can also be very comforting and grounding. And if you are alone, self-Reiki, self-massage, and self-hugging, self-touch can be really also very grounding. And also, if you are into these things, you can certainly bring out your essential oils, your gemstones, your flower essences, and really look them up. And I'm sure you have some, if you do have some of those things around you, look up the ones that are good for grounding. I have an oil that somebody gave me that's for grounding, and I put it on all the time because it's an essential oil and it really, really does help me. So the way that we really, the way that I do it is a breathing technique the breathing and meditation technique that we're going to do in just a minute. And I think what works is to do these things and do them really frequently, to do them really mindfully, to do them really with a lot of care and attention for yourself. Also, if you have people around you if you have kids or a spouse that's with you, there's a lot of grounding activities that you can do. With kids, you can put your hands on their feet and hold their feet and look into their eyes and ground them. Or anybody will work with anyone. You can touch somebody's shoulders, look into their eyes, and breathe with them. So if you have a person in your house that has gone, like they're really out, okay, breathe with me. And it doesn't have to be heavy. It can just be really fun. That's another good thing you can do. And you can do it to yourself as well. So if you put your hands on your shoulders, I've done this because I'm here alone. Put my hands on my shoulders, looked myself in the eye in the mirror, and really said, okay, breathe with me. We're okay. We're going to be okay. It's all right, So that will dropping your energy out of your head, anything you can do to drop energy out of your head and into your breath, into your body, into the lower part of your body, into your sits bones. And you can help other people do that too if you feel like they need it. Okay, let's talk a little bit about clearing. So that's so important right now because empaths are the psychic sponges of the world. And when we're an empath or sensitive, we have our energy field, which is we're talking about in class 3, but it's made up of all these layers, and the very last layer on it is called the boundary layer. And when you're an empath, that boundary layer is like a sponge. It's a non-empathic person has really like a membrane, it's really like the membrane on a cell, sort of semi-permeable like that, or like your skin. It's very much like that. And it's designed to let in energy that is harmonic and resonant with you, and to keep out energy that isn't. And yet, when we're an empath, we don't have that. We have a sponge. We have this porous outer edge to our energy field. And that's what makes us an empath. That's really it. And that sponginess we have is what allows us to feel what other people are feeling, to feel their emotions like there are emotions, to feel what's in their body like it's in our body, and to feel what's in the hive mind, right? So one of the things that we need to do as our routine energy management is we've got to squeeze the sponge. We've got to release the energy we've picked up from other people, because it's way more stressed out. Everyone's way more stressed out than normal, and we really, really need to do this. So like just on Saturday, I went into Whole Foods to go food shopping. I had to go food shopping, and I really hadn't been out of my house in about a week. And I couldn't believe I bubbled up. Like I got into my energy bubble, and like 20 minutes into Whole Foods, I really was in the bakery section, and I just like wanted to cry. It was so hard to be around everyone. It was so painful. Everyone was so afraid and sad and scared, and anxious, and just even 20 minutes inside Whole Foods. And this is the Whole Foods I've been going to for so long. It's like my comfort zone. And even it being in there, the density of what everyone was feeling, like I hit empathic overload in 10 minutes inside that store. So we are really, more than ever, need to squeeze the sponge, need to clear. I understand that there's really a difficulty here when we're quarantined with others. If you may not be able to get your normal alone time. And a lot of times, sensitive people, empaths, we need alone time. We need a lot of it. We need that time when, spouse is at work, kids are at school. And that's when we have natural alone time, a way that we normally can do our clearing. And some of us have too much of that. Other people don't have enough. So I get it. If you're locked in the house with kids and spouse way more than you usually are, that's wonderful, but it can be also very challenging in terms of this clearing thing. So if you find yourself in that position, what I ask you to do is negotiate with your family around getting some alone time and explain why you need it so much. That might be the time when getting out for a walk is something that you can really do, that will really help. And if you can't get that, then here's some other ways we can clear. The water is so good for clearing. So a tub or a shower. When I had little kids, going in the tub was the only way I could guarantee nobody would bother me. So I would get in the tub. If you have, and lock the door, and I got my piece. But if you have a tub, putting some salt in it, Epsom salts, sea salts, put whatever kind of essential oils you have in there. And again, it's with a mindfulness to it that showering can work too, especially if you have a salt scrub. Salt is so good for clearing. And that combination of salt and water is extra, extra delicious. So use your intention. If you have a shower, you're going to intend that the shower wash the sponge clean. You can see it all going down the drain. And now that we're washing our hands all the time, I have a new trick, which is when I wash my hands is to imagine that everything I've collected in the world I'm releasing through the hand washing, okay? So that's just part of my new thing now. Also breathing, and we're going to do some breathing in our guided meditation, our heart activating clearing meditation. But don't forget to take deep breaths. And mindful breathing again. So when we're breathing to release, so when we go into fear and anxiety, we tend to lock our diaphragm, and shallow chest breathe, and that will keep your emotions trapped and make it very difficult for you to, wring the sponge out. So make sure that you do that. And the other thing that's so interesting too about clearing is I just read a study that says that sage is a really good thing to do for clearing yourself emotionally. I just read this study that sage has antimicrobial and antiviral tendencies to it. And that if you sage yourself, not only do you clear in your house, not only do you clear viruses and pathogens out of your immediate field, air, but it tends to keep it clear for days afterwards. And there's a study that you can look that up to see the scientific proof behind that one. And then protecting, we have to do in two ways. So with protecting, it's really about this outer edge of the bubble. So really managing the bubble with imagining, pretending, visualizing that the bubble is up instead of the sponge when we go out and about. And even if we're just around our families. But the other way that we really have to do protecting is to set our boundaries in an actual way. And that means saying no, and learning what to say yes and what to say no to. And I think that this is something that a lot of people have lost right now because we're really outside of our routine. Your kids are outside of their routines. And there's a lot of, I think, wisdom in maintaining schedule, structure, and your boundary. So it's tricky, but that is, again, we're negotiating with being really honest about what you're a yes and a no to, and then communicating that with the people that are around you will help maintain your boundaries during this super difficult time, okay? So what's so interesting about the outer edge of the boundary field, and we're going to talk about this in class 3, is that it corresponds to our immune system. And lately, when I've been doing readings for people, my guides are asking me to scan people's outer edge of the field, show me where they have rips or holes or tears in their boundary layer, where they're leaking energy, and where they can tighten them up, because holes in the outer edge of your immune system isn't good to have right now. And that's what we're going to be talking about in class number 3. So I hope that gives you, we could do a whole class, and I have a whole chapter in my new book around boundaries, or 2 or 3 chapters on how to do that. But the best way to think about that is be conscious of where you're a yes and where you're a no. And think about it. The more honest we are, the more authentic we are, the more we're holding our boundary. And I think it's so important right now. So let's pause for a moment. I want to do our ground clear and protect meditation with a heart activation right now. And this is a beautiful guided meditation. It's brand new. I've never done it with anyone. So here we go. So if you can have your feet on the floor, that's great. If you can, it's also okay to sit cross-legged. If you can uncross your arms and put your hands on your knees, that's great. If you can, stack your spine up more or less upright get your spine as straight as you possibly can. And then if you feel comfortable, close your eyes. So what we're going to do now is this really breathing. So I want you to, again, feel your body and feel on a scale of 1 to 10 how in your body you are right now. If you're totally out, that's fine. We're going to get you in. Just notice without judgment. All right. And I want you to breathe now in the top of your head. So imagine light is coming in the top of your head, and that light is going to go to your heart and your belly. And then on the exhale breath, you're going to breathe down your legs and out the bottoms of your feet. And we're going to do that again. So breathing light in the top of your head, fill your heart and your belly. And this time on the exhale breath, you're going to imagine, pretend, and visualize that your spine is extending down through the chair you're sitting on, through the layers of the building that you're in, like the big taproot of a tree. And that is going to go down, down, down into the earth. And you're going to get it as deep into the earth as you can, like really get it deep down. We need a lot of grounding. So just imagine, pretend, or visualize that big, it's called the grounding cord, by the way, that grounding cord is going really deep. And you're going to make the grounding cord wide, like trash can size, sewer pipe size, like nothing skinny, really, really big. And now on your next inhale breath, I want you to breathe light into your heart and your belly. And on the exhale, we're going to release, this is where we squeeze the sponge. I want you to release energy, or any energy, emotion, or goo that you're holding on to from other people. We're going to let it down the grounding cord, and we're going to release it with a blessing or a prayer. We're going to ask the earth to compost it. Thank you, earth, for receiving this energy. Please compost it. And again, breathing light into the top of your head. Fill your whole self with light. Direct the light to any part of you that's tense, that's in pain, that's feeling funky. Bring the light, and on the next exhale breath, you're going to just flush it down the grounding cord, any of your own feelings, any energy you picked up from the hive mind, release that. Really squeeze the sponge. And one more like that. Really breathe light in everywhere. And exhale down the grounding cord with a prayer, with a blessing. Notice if you now feel a little different. Notice you might feel a little lighter, a little tinglier, a little more present and in your body. And let's just imagine now the outside edge of the energy field. So imagine, pretend, or visualize you can find the outer edge of your energy field. And we're just going to make it something more solid. So if you have a sponge, I want you to imagine, pretend, or visualize that it's really like maybe a coconut shell or a bowling ball. In this time, I use this bulletproof tinted window glass like you would get in a car. Something you feel really safe behind. And we're going to allow in energy that's supportive to us. So energy that's resonating and harmonious with you is going to come in. Non-supportive energy is going to stay on the other side, and nothing can cross this boundary without your permission. And now let's activate and open the heart. So I want you to take your next breath into your heart. And really feel your heart. How's your poor heart doing right now? Is it aching? Does it feel broken? Is it hurting? So breathe light into it. So we're going to pull the light, and you might pull the light of the earth from your feet up into your heart, and you might pull it from the heavens, from this beam of light coming in the top of your head. Just take a moment to feed your heart light. You can put your hands on your heart if you find that helpful, and really love your own heart for a moment. Bring the light into your heart. Comfort yourself. Feel some love for yourself in this moment. Feel some love for the struggling personal self that you have, for all of the fear and anxiety, for all the pain that you've been in, for your beautiful compassion, for your love, for your generosity. Feel love for yourself and really, really bring that into your heart. And let that light up your heart. And now what I want you to do is on the exhale breath, begin to radiate that light out of your heart. Let it beam out really like a light, like a sun, like a flame on a candle. And let that fill your whole energy field. With each inhale breath, you're feeding your heart light, filling it up. And each exhale breath, you're moving that energy out from your heart into the world. Fill up your whole energy field. Let the light come out. Shine really, really bright. Turn your shine on and really, really light up. And see how that feels. Let the light of your heart escape the boundary so that you're bringing your light now into the world. Let this light fill up your house. And then let the light fill up the town you live in. In each inhale breath, you're filling your heart from the light of the earth and the divine light, breathing in top and bottom. And each exhale, that light's going out bigger. Now let it fill up the whole world. And send the light of your heart to the people that you know, to your family, to the people working in the front lines in the hospitals. Let the light shine like a wave throughout the whole world. And let that light find the other people in this group. Let's add our lights together right now. So you might feel like you're standing in a circle with the rest of the people in the group, and we're here together, adding our light to each other, to ourselves, and to the world. And now notice how you feel. Notice if you feel different than you did in the beginning of the meditation. Take another breath here. We're going to ground any extra energy, bring any extra light you have back into the earth with a blessing. Let's bless the earth with this light. And begin to come back into your body, come back into the room, wiggle your fingers and toes. All right, well, why don't we end for today? Thank you again so much for participating in this class with me. I'm very, very grateful that you're all here. And we will see you same time tomorrow. And when we talk about how to really manage our own emotions, and then how a daily practice, what to do when we freak out emotionally. We're going to cover that, and we're going to cover how do we support other people emotionally as we go through this. So thank you all for being here, and I will so look forward to seeing you tomorrow.